Welcome to the Stutter Canadian Stuttering Association podcast. Hi everybody, I'm Lisa Wilder. I am on the board of directors of Can Stutter, the Canadian Stuttering Association. Thanks for tuning in to our podcast. It's a reboot of the CSA or Can Stutter podcast, and I'm very happy to be here today with Tess Casher. Tess was born in Canada after attending Pearson College in Victoria. Tess headed east to Mount Allison University in New Brunswick, the recipient of numerous academic awards. In 2023, she became her university's 54th Rhodes Scholar. She currently does graduate level teaching and research in the English and Film Studies department of the University of Alberta. There's actually more to say about Tess, but we have to get to our podcast. Welcome, Tess, and thanks for her being here. I'd like to open up with asking you about your book. It's aimed at young people who stutter, and what is it you want them to take away from it?
Oh my gosh! First, I just thank you so much for such a kind and heartfelt introduction. Definitely really excited to be here since sort of beginning to write the book when I was 18. I didn't even know things that like a stuttering community existed and just being able to kind of join it in the past couple of years through the process of writing has just been a really wonderful personal inspiring experience. But yeah, back to the book. As simple as it is just the idea that the way you speak is beautiful, lovely, and just at the end of the day, good. I did add some sort of humor and heart in there in terms of trying to give some representation to how frustrating some of navigating life it can be. Ian tried to provide a little bit of that interiority window to folks who maybe don't stutter, to sort of see some of the ups and downs and extra thoughts and consideration that can go into it. But there's so many different ways of speaking, and stuttering is just one of them. And I might be a little biased here, but I think it's a pretty nifty one. One that adds some points of connection in and possibly just a slightly more or intense way, if that's if that's the word I want to use, of experiencing the world, or maybe a more specific way, a way, and with that specificity comes a place of increased understanding, ending increased ease connection, which can be pretty lovely things to sort of embody and in day-to-day life.
Well, I was interested in the book how the different relationships she had with her mother, her friends, teachers, her speech therapist. There's a lot of tension with her and her mother, and I wondered what message do you have for parents that they should be aware of if they have a child who stutters?
And there's here I'll sort of add deference to kind of under the grade stuttering for bearers. But Dory Holt really started this kind of conversation Asian around the idea of if you have a kid with speech dysfluency, the sort of number one priority is just keeping your kid talking and excited to sort of engage with the world. And here I want to have a possible moment of just of heart to the idea that it is something potentially unknown for parents and parents who do typically just want the best of things for their kid, and you're typically being inundated with a lot of sort of medical ill advice in terms of like, okay, you need to sign them up for this and do that, and have all of these practices which a lot of parents really do in the spirit of just trying to set their kid up for the best possible experience in this world, which is really lovely. But I'd say that the world today is much more welcoming towards stuttering voices, which is a really lovely thing to be able to experience it. And on the other side of that coin, kind of how you speak is just one aspect of a person / a human being being excited to sort of connect and relate with anyone, and regardless of kind of the shape that their voice is taking, prioritizing that out over perfect fluent speech. Each speech is just something that's always going to get land you on a side of excitement and support, or which I think was a bit of the message I was trying to go for in there.
Well, there's that speech therapy has gone through a lot of different phases. A lot of it's really changed in the past few decades, and I think that there's been a realization, maybe, that a more relaxed attitude towards stuttering treatment is better. Do you agree with that?
In a way, I feel very, very lucky to be the kind of beneficiary of sort of a shift that has been a long time. I'm in the making. Sam Simpson's redefining stammering in the UK. UK is a sort of movement of having a dysfluency forward sort of approach to speech therapy is really exciting. She just launched this kind of Reflect app. Christopher Constantino oh no has also done some really cool work of really reimagining what the speech therapy kind of encounter could be, because it is just a very emotional and kind of vulnerable thing in terms of this of sort of the voice and the way you speak. It's just an incredibly constant and intimate and sort of personal version of the self. So having these kind of figures that try to talk about ways of re-relating kind of the relationship between yourself and the voice in the way that sort of empowers you, the individual speaker is just incredibly wonderful work that yeah, no I'm really excited to see what they do in the future.
You've lived in different parts of Canada and overseas, and do you notice there's different attitudes towards stuttering in different parts of the world, or do you get the kind of similar reactions wherever you go?
Mm. Actually, more than sort of in kind of regional differences is I find sort of the bigger factor is possibly just like the type of sort of social circle, possibly the kind of conventionally popular situations. Asians typically don't always go the best, as well as I would call them potentially like formal and schwanky situations. Asians, when there's a bit of an increased expectation to kind of have a very polished speech each. But one of the kind of really lovely and exciting things about getting older is you really get to sort of choose the communities that you're a part of, and just being kind of gravitating towards even like subcultures within those groups, as well as just professions and people and places. This is that kind of just is embrace you and embrace the way you speak. It has just been one of the really lovely parts about getting older.
You've worked. I think some of the more kind of philosophical aspects of stuttering into your study of English literature. And I thought it was really neat in your book, the way you depicted in writing Ingrid's stuttering. How are you? I've always been fascinated by that too myself. How are you working it in to a broad analysis of English literature?
Oh my gosh. Okay. You're gonna have to cut me off at some point. At some point, because this is something
It's a big
I'm
topic.
incredibly passionate about. But yeah, the kind of underlying kind of the genesis or kind of kernel for the studies is this idea that I find English literary analysis almost spells out the belief that stuttering is beautiful in ways that really make sense to me. If you kind of think back to kind of like high school poetry, poetry analysis, where folks kind of are like, oh my goodness, a hyphen, all of the possibilities. Is are being very excited about what all of these formal differences in language add in terms of generating meaning and complexity into a sentiment, and that sort of literary theory I applied to stuttering in a way, kind of proper literary theory. We describe stuttering in kind of these very life-giving terms in terms of viewing stuttering as something that kind of adds more communication into a sentiment rather than detracting communication. So that's something I was as excited about and what my current work sort of looks at depictions of stuttering by people who stutter, and then trying to parse out which narratives and typographical representations can change what we think what we think about stuttering. And there's tons of people doing really cool work in this area. Luke Weiland does amazing musical compositions of stuttering voices. Connor Foran created a dysfluency typeset at making a dysfluent magazine. Jerome Ellis is a poet musician who stutters, who integrates that into his artistic practice. Moody Shebedi is making a poetry anthology of people who stutter. So yeah, no. Oh, I guess that there's me, but then there's also a ton of other folks who have also noticed this connection action and are pretty excited about it, which is yeah, a very lovely community to be part of.
Well, it sounds like a big topic. I can see why you're so interested in that. There is something I wanted to ask about. I didn't mention in your bio that you like hiking, and you hiked up Mount Denali. What was that like?
Oh gosh, no, oh, didn't end up submitting on that expedition, but very out of this world, Earl, getting to be in a glacier for that many days is and then also for your sole responsibility to getting yourself up this mountain safely. It was just, yeah, a really fun experience to have with my dad.
Well, that's wonderful. So, Tess, I'd like to thank you for joining me here today in our podcast, and I really hope you keep in touch and that you keep in touch, Tess. And thank you to our listeners who have tuned in to this podcast. Thanks, everyone, and have a great rest of the day.